One of the biggest problems when mixing in a home studio is that you can't hear the low energy of your mix. So then what? Well, in this video, I'm going to show you a new plugin that just dropped by the Him DSP that solves this problem. And because they are amazing, they're going to be giving all of my subscribers a free copy in the month of February. So if that's not a reason to subscribe to my channel, I don't know what is. So let me show you a little bit about this plugin. Well, it's called SubNinja. Basically, it's just a really easy to use, smart oscilloscope to help you dial in perfect bass. And this is like such a simple concept, but it's so powerful. Now, what makes this different from something like a spectrum analyzer is it's a lot more accurate for sub-frequencies. So let me just show you the problem with something like a spectrum analyzer. Here's FabFilter Pro Q3. This is an EQ plugin. A lot of people like to use this. It has a really nice graphic visualizer of what's going on in the frequency domain. So let me just show you what that looks like when we play music.
That would melt the frost, one glance, and I knew.
What most people don't know is that these things are incredibly inaccurate. And it's just a matter of the signal processing technique to visualize these frequencies. And this is a video that I've been meaning to make, so stay tuned because it's going to be a game changer. But if we're trying to understand what is happening in the sub region, right, the bass and the powerful region of our song, it's kind of hard to tell if the bass and the kick are working together or not.
This is just what I need. I had to learn
It's hard to tell what's going on. We don't know what our bass frequencies, we don't know where the kick is, and it's just doesn't really help guide or direct what might be working and what might not be working in our mix. And it's especially difficult to know what the relative levels are between the kick and bass with something like this. This is where SubNinja comes to save the day. We hit play. We get two waveforms. We have the top waveform, which basically is just going to be an oscilloscope of the low bass frequencies. And then this bottom waveform is just what a normal oscilloscope would show for the full spectrum. This is kind of hard to see what's going on, right? It just kind of looks like a giant block, right? You have no idea what's actually going on. So this is why people don't usually like using oscilloscopes, but SubNinja basically is a low-pass filter, meaning you can adjust the frequencies that you want to get rid of and that you just want to focus on. I find that for rock and metal music, if I put this to about 100 hertz, I get really clear, defined resolution of the kick and the bass frequencies in my mix. Okay, and so very clearly now we can see where every single kick drum hit is and where all the bass notes are. So this is going to give us a really easy visual indicator of what's going on in our mix. So for example, let's say you're mixing in a bedroom and the bass response is all jacked up, right? So you might not realize that your kick drum is kind of weak because you can still hear it in the mix, right? So if we roll off the sub energy of the kick drum, right, you can still hear the kick drum clearly because there's high frequencies to it, but you might not know what's going on in the sub region. So you can use SubNinja to take a look to see if you have definition in the sub region of your kick drum compared to the bass guitar. This is going to tell you if you're able to hear or feel the impact when the bass is playing. So check this out. So right now, we're not really getting any definition from the kick drum. We're just getting the bass guitar coming through. So if you dial this back, you'll be able to see at what point your kick drum energy, the sub energy, can break through that bass so you can feel an impact and it's present in your mix, even if you can't hear it. It's amazing. So right here, right, we're starting to get the definition of the sub energy from the kick drum. Okay, and I have two subwoofers in my studio so I can really hear it, but a lot of people don't have these kind of things. So this is the easiest way to figure out how to dial in and set your filters for bass guitar and set filters for kick drum so that it's not just boomy and muddy, but has really good balance. So right here, we're getting clear definition between each kick drum hit, and it has a nice power to it now. Now, what might have crossed your mind is, yeah, you can see the sub energy, but how do I know if it's actually working for my music? Or how do I know what a good kick drum waveform looks like? Check this out. What I recommend doing is using SubNinja with your reference mixes to dissect how your favorite mixing engineers are producing in mixing the songs that you know sound great. So for example, we can use SubNinja to look at all of my favorite like rock and metal reference tracks. So if we want to see how Zach Cervini mixed the low end of like Bring Me the Horizon, we can just play our reference tracks and take a look at SubNinja to see how the sub energy interacts with the bass guitar. So here's a really good example. So in SubNinja, we can see that we have this nice, like, steady bass frequencies, and then we're able to resolve every single one of those kick drum hits. So if we switch back to our song, we want to see a similar pattern to our sub frequencies. Here we go.
But when you fall, I'll help you to your
Okay, go back to our reference. I mean, it's pretty close, right? But you definitely want to find something that is closely related to the genre you're working in. If we take a look at a Will Putney mix, you can see there's really not a huge burst of sub energy. Okay, it's very tight sounding. So we get a little bit of definition popping through from the kick drum, but it's not a ton, right? If we go back to Zach, Zach has a ton of bass in his kick drums. Look at how much it's jumping out compared to the bass line. And for all you producers out there, if you're trying to figure out which kick drum will work for your song, check this out. Here's a reference where I feel that the kick drum has too much sub energy and it starts blurring together on the faster kick drum parts. So when the kick drum's going, it just turns into a continuous blob, right? There's not a discrete, defined kick drum hit on these faster parts. That is an indication that maybe you're too deep with your kick drum, or the length of the kick drum is too long for the song. You're never gonna get a defined punch to the kick drum. It's just gonna sound like a rumble. But at the slower parts, that the kick drum is defined there. So if I was producing this song, I would choose a kick drum that has a little bit tighter or faster response, or something that doesn't have so much sub energy to it to really tighten this up. And finally, here is a mix where I think the bass is actually too loud compared to the kick drum. We're not getting a huge definition or separation of the average of this, like the bass notes compared to those spikes from the kick drum hitting. Right, so you heard the kick drum hit like 4 times, and it's really hard to see the definition here. So this is a good visual representation that your low energy, your sub energy in your mix might be over compressed, and there's not enough transient information there to really make that kick drum cut through. So there are a few features I want to just quickly mention in this plugin. Up here allows you to adjust the zoom of your waveform, so if you want it bigger or smaller, so you can adjust the length of this analyzer. This basically just pulls the tempo information from your session and allows you to adjust how many measures you're going to be watching as this goes. I love this sync feature. When sync is on, your downbeat is always in the same spot in this display. So that allows you to really quickly identify if maybe a kick drum hit is off time. The frequency selection here allows you to change the frequency of the cutoff filter. So if you are working in rock or metal, you might actually want to push this up to like 220 hertz or 240, because now you'll also be able to see your snare drum transient for your low mid region. If your guitars are too muddy and it's overwhelming your snare drum, you'll be able to visualize it really easily with this plugin as well. So without the filter, it's hard to tell where things are. With the filter in place, you can see really easily. Another cool feature is this warn frequency here. Basically, this is going to look for anything that's at that frequency or below and underline it with that green line. And that is going to give you a warning that, hey, maybe the sub information is too deep or too low, and someone who has smaller speakers might not hear those frequencies. So this is super important in the electronic and pop world, where certain melodies might go too low, like below 30 hertz. And for most people, it's just going to feel like an emptiness there. So it might give you an indication, hey, you should probably use the octave higher so that more people can hear that note. I find this is also really helpful for like kick drums or analyzing reference songs, so that I can see how deep a kick drum actually goes. And I like to have this set to about maybe 40 hertz or so. Finally, we can also change what source we're monitoring. So if we want to just look at the left channel, we can do that by clicking the left. The right channel, we can also look at the middle, so the sum of the left and right channels together, or the side or the difference, okay? So this is the information on the side. This is going to be like our guitars, our cymbals. We really shouldn't see a lot of bass information on the sides. It's always good to check to make sure that that's not necessarily what's going on, because that can mess up a final master if you want to get it to vinyl or something. Now, if it is still the month of February and you are a subscriber to the Raytown Productions YouTube channel, you can get this totally for free. I have a coupon code in the description, so go and grab this plugin, start putting it on your mixes and checking out your different reference tracks to see how your mixes compare to your favorite songs. And if you have friends that do music production, tell them about this as well. Send them over to this channel, get the coupon code, and share the wealth. I think this is a tool that every single home studio owner needs to have in their arsenal. It's one of the best tools I've found out there for really highlighting what is actually going on in the sub-region of your mixes. Huge shout out to the Him DSP for sending me a copy of this plugin and also giving all of you a free copy of this for February. So let me know in the comments what you thought of this plugin and if you do something similar for your mixes. I've always just used spectrum analyzers, but this thing is living on my mix bus from now on. My name is Bobby Balo. I'm the mixing and mastering engineer at Raytown Productions, and I'll see you in another video.